So why did I become a licensed practical nurse? Well, I became a licensed practical nurse, to be candid, because I couldn't get into RN school. Back in Michigan, there was this lovely thing, and I'm sure it's all across the world, that was called the TEAS test, a HESI test, and a NET test. And for the love of everything on the table, I could not pass the English grammar portion. See, growing up, I was a product of DPS, Detroit Public Schools, and I could not pass that English test. I did not, growing up, care the difference or know the difference between there, they and they, to, right? And I didn't understand it, nor did I care when I was physically in school. Well, it caught up to me when I started applying for different nursing programs, right? I would get a 70 and I needed a 72. Then they raised it to a 75 and I got a 74. So I found myself hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock when I was trying to become a registered nurse. So somebody mentioned to me, hey, Demetrius, you may want to consider going and becoming an LPN. Now, at the time, I didn't know what an LPN was. And when I started to look into them, I was like, they're not really real nurses. Boy, was I wrong. They're not really real nurses. Why would I ever do that? And then I went down and talked to the guidance counselor at the school, talked to the dean of schools, and I became convinced. I was like, okay, LPN is what I wanted to do. Also, their NET test only needed a 70, and I had a 74. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I enrolled in that program. It was a year program. It started in, I believe, August. It went to July of the following year, and I learned all my core clinical skills that I have today, right? Everything I learned in that fundamentals course transition to what I'm practicing now and teaching my fundamental BSN students now. So it's actually funny, when I teach my BSN students, I'm teaching them out of my LPN book, right? I'm teaching them using the DVDs that I had from LPN school. I teach the clinical portion, right? So we're going over skills. So I use those DVDs. But when we say, once again, why did I become an LPN? It was out of necessity, but it was actually one of the best things I could have did. I think that at the age I think I was 19, 21, had I had to stick in a whole 2-year program, I wasn't mature enough to finish a 2-year program, but I knew that I could do anything for a year. So when I had the opportunity to become a licensed practical nurse, I took it and I knocked that year out, and it was the best decision that I ever could have did. So if you're toying on the ideal of becoming a registered nurse or a licensed practical nurse and you have both options, I'm always going to say go be an RN if you can get in both programs. But if you can't, there's no shame, there's no shade for becoming a licensed practical nurse. You heard it here first from your healthcare consultant.